Coming off the excellent bloodline angle at the Royal Rumble, the story continued on SmackDown Friday night. A story that Michael Cole said on Pat McAfee's show that he thinks is Emmy Award worthy. Can you imagine how insufferable these people would be if they won an Emmy for this? Kevin Dunn would finally have his Emmy. We saw what happened with Jey Uso at the Rumble. He walked out on his family rather than join in on the beatdown on Sami Zayn. And then he went on Instagram later and posted just 2 words. He said, "I'm out," with a drop of blood emoji. Friday night, Roman Reigns wanted to know from Jimmy Uso where his brother was. He's been off the grid ever since the Rumble. Nobody can get a hold of him. Roman said now more than ever when he needs his family the most, Jey is nowhere to be found. And Jimmy assured him that he'll be there next week for their tag team title defense against Braun Strowman and Ricochet, who beat Imperium on Friday to win the #1 contenders tag team tournament. It's all good. It's all good. If he doesn't show up, I'm sure Adam Pearce will just let Solo Sikoa take his place. Right? They could do the Freebird deal with the Usos. He's the 3rd Uso. Roman came out with Paul Heyman at the end of the show. And he said that he wanted to address Cody Rhodes, the winner of the Royal Rumble. But the fans were going to make him address Sami Zayn. And he accused Sami of being in the bloodline for his own benefit. He's just like all these people that he meets in public and restaurants and places. They all want something from him. And all of a sudden, a man in a hoodie came from out of nowhere and attacked Roman Reigns. And was pummeling him. And when the hoodie, when he pulled the hood down, it was Sami Zayn, who got a mega pop from the live crowd. Reigns got the upper hand. He called for a chair from the wise man. Sami speared Roman to another big pop, and then he threatened to hit him with a chair, but Roman rolled out of the ring, and that's when Sami took the mic, and he said that Roman was wrong about him. He never wanted anything from him. Until now. And what he wants is a match in Montreal at Elimination Chamber for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, they hit the ring, they beat down Sami. Roman stopped them, stopped Solo from hitting the kill shot, because Sami had a chair wrapped around his head. He was down in the corner. So he stopped him. Then he knelt down beside Sami and said he was going to give him what he wants, but he wants something out of it also. He wants to break Sami in front of his entire family. All his friends, all his family. His whole family is going to be there in Montreal. He said your wife, your kid, your parents, all of them. Just like Sami broke up his bloodline. This was another in a long line of fantastic segments, and now the stage is set for what is going to be one of the most fun matches that we have probably ever seen. In that city, in that building, in front of those fans. Every time they go to Montreal, the way they treat Sami like a rock star, imagine what it's going to be like with all of his friends and family there in the main event, wrestling for the top titles. This is going to be the biggest match of Sami Zayn's life. I truly don't believe there will ever be a bigger match in this man's career than the one we are going to see at Elimination Chamber. And it is very simple. They keep us guessing between now and then about Jey Uso's involvement with the bloodline. They keep Kevin Owens off television until the Chamber. Sami gives Roman more of a fight than he's expecting because he's not taking this man seriously. Sami looks like he might actually have the match won. The crowd is ready to explode. And that's when Jey Uso, after much deliberation, makes his choice, and that choice is that family is everything. And he helps Roman Reigns win the match and keep the gold in the bloodline. And then comes the post-match beatdown. Now, Jimmy Uso may not be allowed into Canada. There's a lot being made about that, how both Usos won't be there. I don't know that that affects Jey Uso. It might. It's possible that Jey Uso will not be allowed into Canada either. I am not 100% sure about Jey. Jey is the key one here. If they have Jey, then they're all good. So you've got Roman, you've got Jey, you've got Solo Sikoa. They're all beating down Sami after the match. Until Kevin Owens makes his return to make the save for his best friend, bitter rival and best friend. He clears the ring. We've got KO on one side. We've got Sami on the other. They stare down each other. The crowd wants them to hug, and then they reunite to a huge ovation. And even though Sami Zayn did not win the titles, we get the big pop to close out the show with Owens and Zayn back together and united and ready to challenge the Usos at WrestleMania for the tag team titles. It would be a wonderful story for Sami Zayn to be the one to finally beat Roman Reigns, but it is not going to happen. If they wanted it to happen, then Sami Zayn should have won and would have won the Royal Rumble. You have all the blood, and when I was going into the Royal Rumble and actually thinking about this, it's a very easy way they could have done this. You have all the bloodline guys except Roman in the Rumble match with the idea that, all right, if you guys stick together and we win this match, right? One of us is going to win this Rumble and we protect Roman from somebody else getting a title shot at WrestleMania. But along the way, Jimmy gets dumped, Jey gets dumped, Solo Sikoa is eliminated. I was thinking at the time maybe by, a returning Matt Riddle, since Solo is the one who put him out of action. I know they said 6 weeks on television for a Riddle return, but if this was his second suspension, which apparently it was, that's a minimum 60 days out, which would have put him out of the Rumble, which is why we didn't see him there. But then Sami is the lone bloodline member left in the Rumble, and he ends up winning the whole damn thing. Then they could have milked the story out several more weeks before finally shooting the angle where Sami has a change of heart and he refuses to surrender his title shot at WrestleMania, and then they excommunicate him from the bloodline like they did at the Royal Rumble. Because that's his final test. Not what we saw at the Rumble. The final test could have been, are you willing to surrender your championship main event match at WrestleMania? And you could have Owens or other people trying to talk some sense into Sami and tell him, don't do this. But in the end, Sami decides that he can't do it, and he fails that final test of loyalty, and the bloodline beats him down. And now you get to the same point that we're at this moment, only it's for WrestleMania instead of Elimination Chamber. In a different timeline. That is how I would have booked a Sami Zayn Royal Rumble win and WrestleMania match with Roman Reigns. WWE stuck to their plan, which was, if Rock can't commit to a WrestleMania match, then we go with Cody Rhodes as the backup plan. That was the choice that they made. And if Cody is going to be their guy coming out of WrestleMania for the long haul, then it was the right choice, because the man who beats Roman Reigns really should be the next person they want to build their television around. At least on the Raw brand. Maybe they split the titles finally and we get a different Universal Champion on SmackDown. If Gunther drops the IC title in Mania, which I think he should, it frees him up then to challenge for the Universal title by SummerSlam, if not before. So anybody thinking, Sami should win or Sami has a chance to win, Sami is not winning anything. This close to WrestleMania, Roman Reigns is not losing at least until then, and maybe not even then, if they want to get him to 1,000 days as champion, because that would take them through the end of May. But he is not losing before WrestleMania. And this idea that I've seen some people floating of a triple threat match at WrestleMania with Roman and Cody and Sami, that's even worse. So far, the crowds have not shown any desire either at the Rumble or on Raw Monday night to boo Cody just because he won the Rumble and Sami did not. They're not taking it out so far on Cody Rhodes. There's no reason to. The Bloodline story has been stellar. WWE has given us the best storytelling they've done in years. This is not Daniel Bryan in 2014, adding him to the main event to make it a triple threat. That was the right move for them to do back then. Adding him to the match with Batista and Randy Orton was the right move. It would not be the right move now. Someone emailed me something they saw on Reddit comparing the Sami and the Cody situation to Austin and Mankind in 1999. I wouldn't use Austin and Mankind as the example. I would use Austin and McMahon as the example of a big match that people wanted to see that they blew off right before WrestleMania. That was what people were dying to see for almost a year when they finally did that cage match at St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Now, again, different circumstances then, because Rock was the champion. So Rock had to be in the WrestleMania main event that year. I'm just making the point that sometimes it's okay to give away a big match like that on the show right before WrestleMania if they have another strong match planned for Mania. It's not as if this sort of thing has not happened before. But if you want to sabotage Cody Rhodes, then by all means, go ahead and book a triple threat match. That would be the worst thing they could do. In fact, what I would do, at some point between now and Elimination Chamber, I would have a segment on television where Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn are together in the same place at the same time, either in the ring or in a backstage segment together. Maybe they bump into each other. I would have Cody endorse Sami and shake the man's hand and tell him he's proud of him for standing up to Roman Reigns and wish him luck. Tell him he looks forward to wrestling him at WrestleMania. But he leaves Sami with a word of warning. Just know that if you don't get the job done, I will. And from there, as long as they don't get too heavy-handed with the Cody promos between the Chamber and Mania, Cody, I think, is going to be just fine. You may have a small contingent of fans who want to rebel, but you're not going to have this groundswell, these sweeping negative reactions to Cody in every city that they go to. Again, there may be certain cities and certain places where the reaction is not as positive as it was for him on Monday night, but this is not, I don't see this as 2014 or 2015 all over again. And maybe they do get a little heavy-handed with the Cody promos. Maybe he does start to come off more as pandering to the crowd. Some people think he already does. That they have to be careful with, because that's a surefire way to turn the crowd against him. That's the last thing that WWE wants.